I'm Maya, and I'm an artist and photographer. In my photography, I like anything that's unconventional or what you wouldn't expect. So in my fashion work, I find that instead of shooting the model like very confident and posed, I like to photograph her in a vulnerable state. Shooting with film, now I've grown to just be addicted to the whole process of shooting and waiting and being excited to see the photos and picking them up at a lab and then putting them on my computer as like a last step instead of just shooting with digital and then right away having it on a screen. It's less appealing to me. With film, I think it's a more intimate experience. I'm actually looking with my own eyes at the subject instead of like through my camera. And I find a lot of digital photographers will just kind of like snap, 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 and they're learning what they like through snapping, and which is kind of like putting a wall up between the subject and the photographer because there's this camera in between. But with me, I like to position the photograph before I even take it. I was kind of playing with the idea that film photography can't really withstand the digital age. Like when I take a film photograph and crop it really tightly and stretch it out, it becomes like very grainy. This piece is called Buckwheat Breakup. A pile of buckwheat that my friend bought after a really intense breakup, and she was trying to kind of take control over her own life. I just thought it looked beautiful just sitting there, and it's kind of symbolic. I took it and I cropped it. Our brains are kind of being conditioned to see photos in a much more like cropped square format because we're so addicted to Instagram and the internet right now. So you can see that it just like becomes very like distorted after I crop it and zoom in. Yeah. My favorite shoot I ever did was of my grandma Stella, who's 94 years old and very glamorous and beautiful for her age. She makes her own pantsuits. She'll buy white sneakers and then she paints them herself. And I want to be just like her. I went to the Monster Jam race last week. I think they look so funny, like, how they go in the air. Like I was just like cracking up with laughter. Tracy Eamon, she was known for marrying a rock. I'm not sure if you heard about that. I just love how like vulnerable she is in her images, and that's something I really look up to in artists. I guess I'm pretty obsessed with my own ego and also other people's ego that kind of comes through in a photograph. This notion that everyone thinks they need to smile when the camera's on them, I think is like extremely unnatural. And I kind of like to do the exact opposite of that and show people in their like real states of vulnerability. So when I was younger, I was afraid of the fleeting feeling of meeting new people. So I'd get really stressed out of moments just like passing me by. So I started photographing them as a way to kind of keep them in my life forever. Like it was a very like sentimental experience for me. I'm pretty good at salsa dancing actually. Yeah, so like I'll whip it out sometimes and like play Gypsy Kings or something. John Waters. Like sex and like anything that's like raunchy and dirty. I have these boobs here that I like the texture of a lot. So lately I'm really drawn to found objects that coincide awkwardly together. Like a peach plant I found in Chinatown. I'll put it in some weird plastic bag that I think the textures like look interesting together. I have like thousands of negatives. They are proof that I've lived the last 15 years of the life I've lived, and they're very sentimental to me.